Hey everybody, another video for you this week. In this one, I want to talk about the posts that I received when I asked you guys to post a question or something that's been difficult with this argument essay we've been talking about. So I want to respond to what I saw there, and maybe I'll also give you some of my reactions to the rough drafts for the argument essay, which if you submitted a rough draft, you should now have comments. They've been up there for a few days, so make sure you check those out if you haven't done so yet. I should also say, I posted it on the Moodle page for this week, but I I think I originally had the argument essay being due on the 18th, but I went ahead and moved that to the 22nd, which I believe is is Friday of next week. With the mastery test and everything being in the beginning of the week, I didn't want to, have all this stuff being due right at the beginning of the week, so I thought I would move it over to Friday, just to give you a little more time to work on that. If you haven't submitted a rough draft yet, I would still encourage you to do so. Or if you saw the comments I posted and you made some changes, or if you decided you wanted to switch your topic or anything like that, you can send me an email with like a new draft or a different draft or whatever. If you just want to get some feedback or some advice about how to, make sure that we get to the 3 pages and that we're going in the right direction. But yeah, so I think most of the posts that I got from people about their difficulties with the essay had to do with the topics and selecting a topic. And I agree that if you're looking at it just like, oh, I can make an argument on anything, what topic am I going to pick? That would make it hard to pick a topic. But that's why I tried to give you guys some suggested topics, right? If you take a look at the argument essay assignment sheet, which is posted in one of the previous couple of weeks on Moodle, and it's also, if you look at our page now at the bottom, you should see a tab that just says assignment sheets. So if you click that one, you'll see the narrative essay assignment sheet, the descriptive assignment that we did a while ago, and you'll also see the argument essay assignment sheet there. So make sure that you've looked at the argument essay assignment sheet because I tried to give you suggested topics to help you out with picking a topic. Uh, and that's also like the readings that we've been doing and the videos that I've been doing. Those have all kind of been connected to the suggested topics that I gave you there. So I think it would make your life a lot easier if you go with one of my topics that I gave you there. I think that they're not extremely easy, the topics themselves. I think that they are maybe, I don't know, I think at least kind of interesting. I think as, college people in college ourselves, we are aware of the problems with college, and I think we all have a, interest in thinking about the solutions to these problems. So I thought it would be good from that point of view. But also, since I'm requiring you to include an outside source, my idea was that the readings that I've been giving you for homework, that those could be the outside sources depending on the topic that you're going to do. So, for instance, we had those 2 articles that were both about student loans and tuition and stuff. Either of those could be an outside source to use in your essay. We also had that essay we read that was about like the philosophy of teaching, that one, the banking concept of education. If you wanted to write something about professors or the way that classes are taught or how it could be different, you could use something from that essay. Or the one that I gave you for homework this week, which I think is just what's it called? It's just called the mental health needs of college students. Because that third topic I gave you asked you about, problems relating to mental health or like adjusting to college. If you don't want to go with one of those, so again, the 3 topics that I gave you there were tuition and student debt. The second one was professors and the way classes are taught, and the third one was mental health or adjusting to college. So if you're going to pick one of those topics, I think the way you would want to do it is start with that problem and then argue for your own solution. But I'm not asking you to come up with something completely new for a solution, Like for the student loans topic, I'm not asking you to completely invent an entire new system of how to deal with student loans. What I'm asking you to do is to look at the solutions that have been proposed, which again, we did in those articles and also my video where I discussed it. I would go back and watch that if you're not sure what I'm talking about. I had the video about student loans. And in that video, I talked about like the 3 solutions that are suggested in that essay, like, that it should be totally free, or that it should only be free for people making under a certain amount of money, or that just community college should be free. So those are like 3 possible solutions. So if you agree with one of those solutions, that could be the thing you argue for. Or if maybe, you want to combine them, or maybe you agree with, that it should be based on people's income, but maybe the number should be different than what it said in that article, whatever. You could do something like that. But I think the way to approach this is, yeah, start with the problem and then look to see what other people have said, other solutions that have been suggested, and then argue for your own solution. Like once you've seen what other people have said, then you can get an idea of, if you agree with one of those or if you want to have your own solution that's maybe a little bit different than the ones that we've read. But I don't want you guys to feel like I'm asking you to design something completely 100% new. So again, go back and make sure you've read those essays. Make sure that you've watched my videos talking about those essays because I really want you to see those as connected to this argument essay. I'm not really asking you guys to go out and do your own research. I'm trying to provide you with the research, again, to make your life easier. And because I think one person in that discussion thread posted that they were worrying about like finding statistics to back up their argument or something like that. Well, if you're doing the student loan one, I think all the statistics you need are in that article, just in terms of like the amount of student loan there is, student debt there is, or how bad it is, and the number of Americans that have student debt. I think you can find all kinds of statistics like that in that article. So I'm not really looking for you guys to go out and do all of this research on your own. I'm trying to provide it to you. But yeah, that would only work if you're going to use one of my suggested topics, which I would heavily encourage you to use one of those topics. What I would not do, what I definitely wouldn't do, is just Google like argument essay topics and try to pick one of those. I think that if you do something, I've done this before with students. When I've in the past, I have let them pick any argument that they wanted, and yeah, in my experience, that's kind of what happens. People just Google like argument essay topic, and then they end up picking like the death penalty or abortion or whatever. Well, one of these arguments that I think we've heard a million times, and I just didn't find those essays to be particularly interesting, and I don't feel like the students really gained a lot of it. It's just kind of repeating the same talking points that we've heard kind of over and over again with these topics that have just been beaten to death. So I feel like with the topics that I tried to suggest for you, they're things that I think are relatable to us again as college people, and I think that it also gives room for you to say, make some kind of unique argument, something that hasn't been said a million times. Like I think that there's a lot of people, especially a lot of college students and a lot of young people, who think that college should be free. But what does that argument look like? Why should it be free instead of saying, well, if you make under, why should it be free for everyone instead of saying, well, if you make under this amount of money, it should be free. And again, I went over those arguments in my other video, so go back and watch that if you haven't done so. But yeah, in terms of the topics, again, look at the argument essay assignment sheet. Really, consider using one of the topics that I suggested there. There's definitely other ones like I'm doing an essay, a similar assignment in another class, and I think I had a student who was asking me if they could do something about the problems with like online classes, or like I think they wanted to make an argument that college should offer like more flexibility with online classes, or that there should be more like hybrid classes like that meet in person sometimes but then are online other times. I had a student ask me about that, and I was like, yeah, sure, that sounds great. That's not one of the three topics that I suggested, but it's a problem with college, and then they're going to argue for a solution. So I still think it could kind of work and it'd be interesting. But again, I don't want to just get these tired essays about should euthanasia be allowed? Like if someone wants to end their life, if they have a medical condition, should they be allowed to do it? Things we've heard a million times. So yeah, just with the topics, I would again go back, look at the assignment sheet, consider using one of the essays that I've given you for homework as an outside source. Uh, and so I'm going to post a video next week talking about the topic of like adjusting to college and mental health and stuff, but I'll say just a little bit about it now. Um, I think that a lot of students will tell me that they think that they find it very difficult. Like we talked about this, right? In the video I had being in college, where we talked about some of the difficulties around adjusting and time management and just going from high school to college, or going from or if you've been out of school for a while and then coming back to college, some of the difficulties around that stuff and all the things outside of the classroom that become difficult. So, for that third topic I gave you, I think anything that relates to that is something you could talk about. Like, what should colleges be doing to make this stuff easier on students? What could they do to help students more? Should they have more advisors or more counselors for people to talk to? I think Bergen has that Success 101 class or whatever it's called that's supposed to be doing this kind of adjusting to college thing. But I don't know. Does that do what you think it does? Or like, what should a class like that be doing? Another way to think about it is like, what should high schools do to prepare people for college? Like, I feel like how come high schools don't give you the opportunity to like go sit in on a college class just to see what it's like? And maybe some of them do, but maybe there should be more of that kind of stuff. How come high schools don't have like a success 101 class where they try to help you with some of the transitioning to college stuff before you get there? Because like I think it makes sense that the colleges have these classes, but a lot of those times you're in the middle of the semester as they're trying to teach you these skills about transitioning to college, and it's like, well, you kind of maybe need to start thinking of this before you ever got to college. So maybe high schools could be doing more as far as that goes. But yeah, in terms of the topics, which again was most of the posts that I got were about the topics, I would really encourage you to try to pick from one of those that are on the assignment sheet. If you really feel strongly that you want to do something else, you can, send me an email and let's maybe talk about it. And I'm open to it. But then you're going to have to do some of your own research probably because I gave you readings that were about those specific topics. So yeah, I think that's what I would say about trying to get a topic started. And from there, you just want the solution to your problem is going to be like your thesis. So if the problem is all the amount of money it costs to college, and the solution that you want is that college should be free for everybody, that's going to be your thesis. That's going to be the thing that you're arguing for. In terms of the essay itself, I think in like organizing it, I think it would make sense to like spend a little bit of time explaining the problem, and like why it's so bad, maybe in one or two paragraphs. And then I would spend most of the essay saying like, okay, and here's like a little bit of a plan to fix it. And again, I'm not expecting you guys like I know you're not the president of the country or something, um, but at least providing some kind of argument of like, okay, if it was free for here's why it should be free for everyone, or here's like the benefits that we would get about how it could be free for everyone. And another thing that you might want to consider doing is addressing like objections that your audience might have. So if you're trying to convince the audience of your argument, you want to be thinking, well, are there any reasons that they might disagree with me, or if I'm telling them that it should be free for everyone, what are some of the objections that they might have, and then try to address those. Be like, okay, I know you're thinking that this might be too expensive, but if you look at all the other money that's spent, we could probably do this, or like, it's important enough. Maybe we need to make it a priority and pay for it anyway. Whatever, but you also could take some time to address like any concerns that you think the audience might have. I think I had someone asking me about like, should they be giving the other side of the argument or something? And you're arguing your side, right? You don't need to like make the argument for the other side, but what you could do is try to like show why the arguments against you are wrong. So if you want to bring up the other side of the argument, you should be doing it to show why ultimately that's wrong and your argument is the better one, and keeping that as your thesis. So yeah, I think that would be my best advice about topics would be to go with one of those from the assignment sheet just because you've got the readings already, on Moodle for you. You've got my videos of me trying to give you ideas and kind of guide you as far as that goes. So definitely go back and take a look at that if you haven't. Watch my videos if you missed them. And yeah, that's kind of where I would go for the topic. And like I said, if you want to try to get a rough draft in, if you haven't done so yet, I'm open to that, and I can still give you some points for it because I do accept late work, like all semester. I'm taking any late work that you have. But I'll also try to give you some comments or some feedback to help you, get through it and get it to the number of pages and everything. All right, I think that's it for now. We'll talk more about this next week, and I'll see you then.